It's 2025 and you're listening to another episode of Walk-Ins Welcome. So if you're here for the first time, you're just now finding us, welcome to the podcast.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you're here and you trickled over from last year, welcome back. We're glad to have you, Michael.
Or if you're like an OG, like subscriber number 7, this is now rolling into what, our third or fourth year?
I think it's our third full year.
Yeah, we've done 3 full years because we're 160 plus episodes. So yeah, 3 full years. Now we're in our 4th year. This is wild to think about. 2025. This is not the first episode of 2025. Recognize that, but it is for us. It is for us in terms of recording wise. So this is our first recording in January of 2025, and 2024 wasn't a bad year, and we have a whole review about all that. But that's not about today. Today's a little bit different. Yeah,
it's going to be a little different. We, as you're listening, if you're consuming this on our typical Wednesday, right now we're sitting in a conference room. And we have our good friend Richard Mobley, who's going through the leadership game with us.
Yes.
Which is a team favorite. It's the John Maxwell leadership game. I highly recommend you go check that out.
And even if you're a John Maxwell fan or not, the leadership game itself.
Full disclosure, I love him, but I'm kind of done.
Yeah, I think he was good 30 books ago.
Stop. He's still awesome.
He's just still pumping them out, but he admits, I'm just kind of updating the existing stuff. But yeah, if you're not a John Maxwell fan, that's not the point of this. But the leadership game, it's honestly, it's what, our 3rd year doing it?
It's our 3rd year, and there tends to be new team members every time we do it.
New team members every year when we do this, and
we've seen laughter. We've had tears.
Yes.
We've had anger.
Yes.
But it's the right kind. In all of those areas, it's the right kind. It's always breakthrough.
Yeah, and there's always, if there's something in the room that we've been ignoring, it gets brought out in the game.
Yes.
Generally speaking, I want to say last year, they're all been fun, but the first year was the most, anyway, the one with the crying. That one was an intense one for sure, but it broke some.
It was necessary.
It broke down some barriers that had been put up for a long time.
And that person needed to go, and they're no longer with us.
Yeah. So if you have somebody that you just want to get rid of, but you need the whole team to see it, do a leadership game.
We didn't do it in the game. Well, the whole point is we're spending some time together to do some things. One, we're spending the time together to play a leadership game to bring out the real. That's the best way I could say it, right? I want real dialogue. Sometimes that takes, just like in a counseling session or anything else, it takes a third-party professional to come in who does not have a bias in any way other than to help the company grow. That's literally their whole goal, is just to break through and build up, right?
Yeah, Richard hasn't seen our team in a year.
Correct. He hasn't been back in a year.
He hasn't seen 2 or 3 of our team members ever.
Correct.
So, yeah.
So, and if you're looking for a facilitator, by the way, his name is Richard Mobley with the 7-4 group, and he's a certified John Maxwell coach. Love him. He's been my friend for a long, long time. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do to start the day. That's what we're doing right now as you're listening to this. We're also broken up into 3 parts. Michael is going to be doing kind of a year in review.
Yeah.
Right? So a year in review, talking about our wins, our successes, our victories, our failures, our opportunities. We're going to take a look at the full scope of what 2024 was, because knowing where you came from is just as important as knowing where you're going. Now, you don't live there,
right?
But you don't want to repeat mistakes that you've made, and you also want an opportunity for people to understand the wins.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we always forget about the wins. We always focus on the negative. So it's a good way just to kind of recap and say, we've come a good ways, and you need to recognize that. And you also need to recognize we didn't meet the goals that we were wanting to meet.
Right.
And that's important to note too. We still, from our standpoint, we still had a great year. Didn't have the year that we were hoping for. And because of that, honestly, we're now making a much more realistic goal set up.
That was in our meeting. We do a leadership meeting every Monday. And I was like, hey, listen, I'm tired of the pie in the sky goals. I'm tired of being unrealistic. I want them just out of reach so that they stretch us and they're bigger than what we can do on our own, but not so far out of reach where I'm constantly just discouraged.
Yeah. And that's what we set up going into this year, the goal setting of what we're asking for is very attainable and it's been done in some ways. Now we're just looking for a consistent way of getting it done.
That's right. Yeah. And we have some fun strategies, like just to give you some snapshots. Part of our growth strategy this year is not only just serving, but over delivering to this podcast audience, to the urgent cares out there that really want to grow their clinic without paying us a dime, by the way, is we'll have a monthly webinar. We'll be doing a webinar every single month.
Yeah, well, and webinar, and then for those who listen or go check out other things, you guys love our DIY Google Ads kit, and so we're looking at maybe expanding on those kits because they're legit. Like, we're not making up fluff. Like, if you actually did it, you would do pretty well.
Correct.
But we're seeing that there's lots and lots of downloads there, so we're like, what can we add there? What more value can we add? And that type of stuff. And that's going to once again add to the goal that we're trying to achieve.
So those are just a couple examples. I'm not going to go through every one of them. There's other episodes for that. But so you're going to be laying out wins, opportunities, failures, things that happened in 24.
Big reflection.
And if I recall, like, our goals for 25, like, this is our game plan for 25 as far as, like, these are our milestones. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is how many people we want to hire.
Yeah.
This is the areas that we're going to expand. And you'll be doing a breakdown of that. Correct. So we also have our newest leadership team member, which you've probably heard us at least talk about, Devin, but he's been promoted into a production manager role because he does such a good job of serving our urgent care clients that we needed somebody to just take the reins on all of it, right? As far as the production team. And he's going to be laying out his vision and for the production team itself. And what that's going to look like, and how he's going to implement that, and the timeframes that's going to happen. And then finally, just being the top of the organization and the leader of the organization, it's my job to keep the mission, vision, and values front and center. And here's the thing. I want to relate to you, because if you've been in the urgent care space for any matter of time, you've probably said these things, like your mission, vision, and values, over and over and over and over again. Eye roll. Go to YouTube. I just gave you one, right? So, like, it is exhausting.
And you feel like a broken record that no one's listening to.
How many times have I come to you and said, "Do we need to change like this, that, and the other?" Because I feel like I've said it a million times.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I still struggle spitting them out verbatim every single time, which I'll just admit to. But the reality of it is, like,
I've got them down pretty good.
Yeah, you should, right? Here's a challenge: if you're the owner of your company and you don't know your your vision and your mission or your core values, without having a reference for it, you may not believe in what you wrote.
Hey, we're on a mission to help 100 urgent cares triple their patient volume through digital marketing services. That's the mission of Patient Care Marketing Pros. We're going to do that through a positive and strong culture, because culture trumps everything. We're going to develop win-win partnerships. We're going to deliver an exceptional client experience, and we are going to embrace ownership. Like, those are our core values, right? But here is the vision. I gave you the mission and I gave you the values, but what is the vision, right? The vision is, and has always been, and this is going to shock you guys, is to create a home for my special needs child.
Yes.
So that if the world chews him up and spits him out, he will have a place that he can thrive, add value to, and bring a positive spirit to this company. Like, that was the original vision of Nick the marketer. It's trickled over. What does that have to do with urgent cares? Absolutely nothing. But if you don't know why you're doing something, you won't do it for very long.
Yeah, or if you're just like, I'm just doing it to make money, great.
That is not my motivation.
Like, that's a burnout method.
That's right.
Pretty easily. But yeah, just going back to your son, like, that's just that, because you're right. In his position, like, there's a high chance that his success in life will be limited.
Correct.
And you're just allowing a place where, come here. Like, I can still,
if you want to.
Yeah,
he doesn't even have to.
Yeah, he doesn't have to, but, like, it's always an option, right?
But that has trickled down, though, right? Like, and here's what I mean by that is we've also created an environment where your family can thrive, and Devin's family can thrive, and all of our team members have a place where I feel they can. Let me say it a completely different way. My vision for this company should be big enough that it includes all of your dreams as well. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So let me trickle that over to your urgent care. Is your vision for your urgent care big enough to encompass the dreams, goals, and desires of your team?
I bet there's some no nodding going on right now because they probably never asked.
Probably, and listen, there's a caveat to that. Do you even care?
Yeah, I mean, Yes, because I mean, there's that part of like, well, I wasn't here to take care of everybody else. I'm here to take care of my family first.
I get that,
and
I get that.
I totally understand.
I'm a Christian, so like I'll go to the Bible on that, and it says that one that doesn't take care of their own house first is worse than an unbeliever.
Yeah. Okay? I mean, that's real, though, because it's hard to help someone if you can't take care of yourself
Put
first.
your oxygen mask on before you help others.
Here comes the plane interact.
It's 2025. I got more coming.
We're 2 days in. We got a nice little plane. We even have a whole joke book right now on planes. And
I'd say that joke landed.
Yeah, yeah. I need to grab our little soundboard.
Wah, wah, wah. All right, let's keep going, though.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what I wanted to do. We're gonna spin a little bit, and I want to say we've put together some notes here for you to be able to create a meeting like this for your all staff, like how you can cast your mission, vision, and values, how you can set your team up for success. Now, we've already talked about goal setting. I don't want to go into goal setting. That's not my goal.
So the best part is that goal setting should make this planning for this meeting really easy.
Right.
Because all you're doing now is just verifying the reflection of what happened last year and then simplifying or formalizing your goal setting for your team.
Right.
And there you go. Like, it's pretty straightforward.
So I'm going to go through this outline, Michael, and then I want your commentary on each section. So I'll say what it is, and then we'll comment on it.
And just I have not heard this full outline.
Sometimes I'll just put together a podcast episode, and Michael will show up to it, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's happened a couple. And it works out.
It does somehow. All right. So number one is you want to have like just a breaking the ice, opening the meeting, right?
Yes.
So welcome everybody. Express gratitude for the team's 2024 contributions. Share your excitement for what's happening in 2025 and just do a brief overview of the meeting, like set the table.
Nice. And I think also should integrate into that, let food show up around the same time.
There is nothing wrong with free food. Now, you don't want to pay your people in pizza, but you want to have pizza available.
I remember it was a TikTok trend like a year or two ago where they said, well, I got my bonus in the size of pizza.
That's right.
And, you know, I didn't see that trend this year, thank goodness, because that got kind of annoying to see that. But no, like we even have in there for ourselves, like we're getting, you know, Chick-fil-A being delivered or you're picking up on and coming into the meeting. But let's make sure you take care of your people, right? So make sure they're comfortable having good. It's supposed to be a good time meeting.
This is not. If this is a Debbie Downer meeting, it's not the meeting you're looking for.
This should make people motivated, make them feel good. It should just be just fun. Like,
it should be.
It really, like, obviously when you talk about some of the negatives, there's going to be some coming out, but that should be that motivation of saying this happened, but we're here today and we can move forward. You know, that
anything negative should be an acknowledgement of it,
not a focus.
Not a focus.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. All right. Then, like I said, what we're going to do, let's do a 2024 year in review. You guys should put together, here's some metrics that I think would be relevant for you to go over. What was your patient volume for the year?
Yep.
As a whole, not broken down, but like, hey, I mean, I know you're going to put together how many leads we generated across all of our clients, which is a huge number.
Yeah, I
like
actually
in the tens of 20s of 30s of thousands.
More than that.
Okay, good. I love it.
I pulled it this morning. It was fun to look at. It took so long to load that the software crashed.
Right.
I had to refresh.
Your net promoter scores, your NPS or your satisfaction scores. What was your revenue growth? You may not have to share physical numbers. And
you could do percentages all day long.
We do. I have no problem sharing dollars because I think everybody has bought into what we're trying to accomplish here. Mm-hmm. And they see the impact. Like as the company grows, I've always paid that back. Fun fact, and I'll move away for just a second, is we were talking about the pizza parties or whatever. So I told the team almost always I like during the Christmas holiday to get something for the team, wrap it, and give it to them from me, just for me.
Yeah.
And I pay a bonus if we have bonus credentials in place, right?
Right.
This year, instead of buying a gift, I just wrapped all of that and gave extra bonus, to which I heard from everybody, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Like that's what they wanted. They didn't want my stupid gift. They wanted money.
I think that the gift, but yeah, I get it.
I heard more often than not, the money was greater than the gift.
People, and now I will say this too, because we had this comment from somebody in our 7FA group about how should you respond if you don't get much gratitude from your employees for this Christmas bonus? And then my response to you was like, have you ever watched Christmas Vacation?
Yeah.
It is built into our culture to not have a lot of gratitude toward Christmas bonuses. It's more of an expectation for their salary. Like this would be part of what I get
when
paid.
people count it as part of their salary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And yes.
But look, I do everything that I can, but we've been very transparent. Like in order for you to get a bonus, we would have to have been profitable. Thank God we've been profitable. So,
yes.
We want to talk about highlights and achievements, successful initiatives. What did you roll out in 2024 that worked? What did you roll out in 2024 that didn't work? And just, hey, what do you expect some of the challenges to be in 25? Like, let's get those out on the table.
Yeah, because one thing you have to remind yourself of, so you the owner, you see everything, right? You see every ins and outs of your company, of your urgent care, and your individual employees don't. They see that single tree, you see the forest. And so when you think these are common numbers that people should already know, they don't. That's not their number. That's not their what they're looking at every day. Because the person that answers the phone, they may realize I answer the phone like 80 times a day type of thing. And then when they say, well, how much actual patients came in? Well, they may not know that full number. That's right. And so, or I heard we were rolling out the new, what's the biggest one that happened this past year, or IV therapy. But I don't know what happened to it. Yeah. And now, are we going to continue it? Nobody knows, but you do, the owners.
Probably not.
Yeah. We've seen IV therapies have its ups and its downs. And I guess now GLP-1 is now the new up. But anyway, all that being said, like, you just remind yourself of this. This may feel like common knowledge to you, just like the mission, vision, and your core values, but it's not common knowledge to everyone that you're talking to right now.
Really good feedback on that. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. All right. So this is an area, your vision and goals for 25. This is where you want, in my opinion, to bring your leadership team in and have them do this. Here's why. This is, again, my opinion. I think it comes across way better from you and Devin and Kimberly. It comes across better from our leaders on our team to put numbers and to put goals and trends out there. Every time the owner does this, when there's a team in place, just to be clear, when there's a team in place and the owner does this, it sounds self-serving 100% of the time. It sounds like, oh, man, we're going to hit these numbers. Well, okay, great. Those are your numbers that are going to pad your pockets. Why in the world should I care about that? No. If you have a leadership team in place that you're meeting with regularly and they understand your heart and your vision, like, I don't think there's any doubt in your mind, Michael. Now, I may be calling myself out in real time. When I talk about growing numbers, almost never is it for my benefit.
Right.
I mean, I never talk about what I'm going to get out of this. Right? I'm talking about how I'm going to hire new people and how I'm going to be able to give bonuses and raises and be able to do these things and build out an office that people can be proud of. Like, I'm never talking about how I'm going to give myself a raise.
Yeah, it usually goes, hey, if we get to this number, we can add this many more people.
Yes.
That's usually the focus / we can give better raises or whatever. And I actually saw the Office episode not too long ago where they had the raise conversation come up, and then watching Jim just fall on his face. Which, when I was watching, it's like, he's going to make a fool of himself because he keeps retracting what he's trying to do. Anyway, but no, it's that reality of, like, it's true. Like, I agree that if it's coming.
Are you talking about Michael?
No, it was Jim.
Jim falling on his face?
Well, not physically.
Okay.
No, it was when they were co-managing, and then Michael's like, yeah, you can go ahead and tell him what you want to tell him. And then he did, and then they came back, basically attacked him about it.
Oh, yeah.
And then he started backtracking. But anyway.
I dropped that episode number in a few
minutes. I know. I got to find it. Somewhere in season 6. Anyway, so yes, I think coming from the owner, like, there's some expectations like, oh, you're just trying to make yourself look good so you can sell the company or whatever, that type of thing. But I would even say, so, like, you're most of you multi-location urgent cares, you have a manager of each location, probably to some degree. I do wonder, does it make sense for you to have 2 style meetings? So you have one that is a local meeting that's very just the manager and their group of people for spending during a lunch or something like that, going over numbers. And then you have a let's all get together meeting. Because I know, like, American Family Care, they basically do that once a year to have a summit type thing.
Yeah, an all-staff type thing.
Yeah. So you should look, considering that, if you have like 5 locations, you should consider bringing everybody into a certain area for half a day or something like that. And maybe even break it up where you can properly bring in all staff and just rotate the staff over a 2-day period or something.
I would even take it to the next level. I understand the revenue loss from closing your clinics.
Yes.
But if you close your clinics for a day and you have a well thought out meeting, the investment, the opportunity cost of closing your clinics for a day, and the momentum you'll get on the other side of that when it's well executed.
Yeah.
When it's well executed.
That's cute. That's 100% true.
Yeah. So it has to be well executed and it has to have a purpose, meaning, and trajectory. But if you do that, I think your investment in that day will far outweigh the losses of closing for a day.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we've seen it all the time because when you get everybody on the same page, rowing that boat at the same speed, it goes a whole lot better.
Obviously, you know what day of the week is the slowest day of the week for you.
Yeah. We do too, by the way. We see those numbers.
Do it on that day.
Yeah.
Like, go look at your data. So obviously you want to talk about your goals. This is where you're going to put out your goals for 2025. What kind of growth? Are you looking to open new locations? Are you increasing patient volume? Is it a mixture of both? Are you adding staff? Patient care improvements. Are you trying to improve on your wait times, right? Mm-hmm. Are you trying to get from 60-minute door-to-door down to 45-minute door-to-door? Is that the goal? Or are you just trying to shave 5 minutes off of it, right? Are you trying to deliver better care? Obviously, that's one of our core values, which I didn't go through. Remind me at the end, and I'll go through them. Yep. Staff engagement. Are you going to put into practice development and ongoing training for your team that you have in place? Mm-hmm. And then your financial goals, your revenue targets, and your cost savings. And there's two separate things.
Yeah.
In this area, I want to get this revenue through the door. In this area, I want to cut this expense out.
Now, do you talk about benefits in the outline?
When you say benefits, are you talking about
back to the
maternity leave and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about that? Because we do that, but I don't have that in my outline.
Yeah. So one of the things too, when you're talking about the vision of 2025, because we do this, we typically not every year because we kind of run out of things to provide, but we typically introduce a new benefit / policy change for the new year.
Right.
And we also remind them of the benefits that have been provided because
short-term memory loss.
Well, that and then also benefits are also optional to employees, right? Because they don't have to get the benefit; it's just an option out there. Like health insurance is just a great example of this. But yeah, it's that mindset of, hey, by the way, you have these benefits, and how long you've had them has been. Hey, we incorporate these in 2023. And then here comes a new benefit or two, because we always try to find something if we can. And like this is a great time to talk about it, because to me, it's also like a little icing on the cake. We're like, hey, by the way, big announcement. We're now doing 1% match versus, or we were doing 1% before. Okay, now we're doing 2% or whatever that is. And like, it's just brings a smile to the faces, right?
That's right.
For people to understand what it's actually a great thing. So just keep that in the back of your mind too, because I don't think you ever want to leave this meeting with just like unattainable goals, and that's how they end the meeting.
Pie in the sky, as I call it.
Yeah. So just
I feel real good, but I don't know where to put it into action.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And I think taking action is such a huge thing too. Like
that's right.
Here's step number 1, by the way. We've broken ground on a new location. Whatever.
That's right.
So.
Man, what a fun time to announce that, right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Breaking that down into the initiatives, like key initiatives that you're trying to do over the year and when you want to do them, but break them out. Like, here's our patient care initiative. Here's our tech. Are we going to add a Solve or an Xperity? Are we going to add a new EMR or make a swap there? Like, this is the time to make those type of announcements if you can. Staff development, talk about that. And then community outreach. I think that's a huge part of it. Like, what are we talk about this, like what are the events that we're going to be present at and bring our best to, right? Mm-hmm. And then break that down into goals, timelines, and benefits, right? All right. So we do this at our Christmas party. But if you haven't done this, you need to, in my opinion, incorporate it into this meeting. And that is employee recognition and team building.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So we have the Dundies of our.
We do.
Well, we have a bunch of. How many you have now? 7, 8.
I can't remember.
Anyway,
I think I have 6 total.
So they are peer voted awards, and they're kind of funny, right? They're not supposed to be super serious, but they also truly recognize a skill or effort somebody put in. But so you actually send it out like a couple of weeks before the Christmas party.
Especially if I can send it right the first time, that'd be great.
Yeah, not include old names.
That's right. Oops.
Yeah, that's a real thing. But so I think you use SurveyMonkey to do it.
I use SurveyMonkey.
There's
a free version of it.
There's a free version. I think it goes up to like 100 requests or whatever. Anyway, and you just say like, who's voted? Like I got the duct tape award.
It's because you can fix anything.
Yeah, it's the mindset of there's a way to fix it. Like that's my mindset, and so like. My coworkers voted on me for that. I didn't vote for myself, or you didn't just pick one, right?
So I picked no one.
Yeah.
I stepped in for one tiebreaker.
Yeah,
which I can't remember which one it was at this point. Okay. So anyway,
but yeah. So like, but it allowed the peers to vote, and then you have the information. We don't, and then you have little diplomas spun up. Like use Canva to do that, right?
I did free. Yep.
Use Canva. It's free, and they have little diploma templates. You can just plug in the name and whatever you want to say. And then you gave them out as rewards, and you got pictures and everybody on that stuff. But it's fun because we all in our minds like, oh, I bet it's gonna be so and so, and ends up being somebody else.
I know. This year was especially fun.
Yeah.
So I will tell that. I'll tell you. I want you to, because I was not prepared the first year we did this, and even this year, even better. The positive response that this would.
Yeah,
I had no idea, and I think part of it is because I allowed them to vote. It wasn't me selecting people. There were no favoritism. There was nothing there, right?
I think the funniest part to me, well, not funniest, but that people like it because whenever you tend to send something out, you have to send out multiple reminders to do it.
Well, they were anxious.
And then when you sent this out, it was like, hey, you screwed up the first question.
They did right out of the gate.
Like within 5 minutes, and you're like, hold on.
I can't get you guys to read. Yeah, well, actually, they do a pretty good job of responsive, but not that fast.
Yeah,
I mean, that was instant.
That was funny. You're like, oh, crap.
And there was like 3 people that called it. It wasn't just one. So I knew there were multiple people in there doing stuff.
It was just funny. But that's just, and it's only the second year we've done it. So it's kind of like, it's fun to vote on people.
It is.
Now, obviously, if you're a multi-location and all that stuff, it's hard to vote for people you've never even heard of.
See, I think you could do that breakdown on the clinic.
Yeah, you could.
And I think you could do breakout sessions for your clinic.
You could, and then maybe even have like the all-star employee of each clinic and have them all come together for a group photo and say, these are our all-star employees of the year.
I love it.
Yeah, so or whatever you want to call them. But it's just something that kind of recognizes excellence at the end of the day. Because even though like they're funny, like the names and stuff, there's an excellence tied to it. Just the mindset of they didn't just vote because they like the person. They vote because like that multiple people recognize, man, they got that part figured out.
So let's give an example. Like what you would call employee of the year.
Yes.
All right, so back up a little bit. Our original company name is called Nick the Marketer. Hey, I'm Nick.
Nick's a real person.
Right?
Here he is.
Here I am. So for me, the best compliment that I think you could put on somebody is to say, Michael the Marketer.
Which I got.
You got that
last year.
Exactly.
2023.
And I think everybody was expecting that again.
Yes.
Right? But Devin won that award.
Yep.
And the shock, he was voted on.
Yeah.
The shock on his face when he got that, I personally think not only did he love it, I think he needed it.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't realize that. So he would have been, employee of the year, but coming up with something fun. Like we call it blank the marketer, fill in the blank, right? This year is Devin the Marketer.
It was, so. Yeah, and I agree. Like I think it was a little bit of shock to him, but also we're looking on it, reflecting on it. You can see his personal growth through everything.
My man had an impact this year,
and and he was pushing people like, let's do better.
That's right,
and it showed up. So yeah, I think it's a true reflection of his importance.
Right.
So yeah, just keep that in the back of your mind, like just to have more fun with it. But then anytime you have recognition, I know, and there are lots of people that don't like recognition, but this is very innocent recognition. Hey, come up, hold the little diploma, take one picture, sit back down. Not a big deal. But it's cool to get the look at it, like, yeah, cool, I actually won something.
That's
so
right.
Maybe cash money next time.
Hey.
Everybody's voting for everybody.
Everybody got some version of that this year anyway. If you have time, you can go over budgets and resources for each department.
The boring stuff.
I personally, I won't include this in ours.
Right.
But it's because we have a plan to roll this out anyway that's outside of that because we use EOS. So
and at the end of the day, this is supposed to be a motivating,
should be fun
event.
Ain't nothing Debbie Downer like a budget.
Yeah, but when you're saying, hey, we're cutting budgets by 10%, that right. Just kind of turns everybody off.
So if your team, we were talking about multiple locations, and I think this is perfect for the multiple locations, which is why I wanted to include this. And that's to take 30 minutes and do a breakout discussion based on either the department or the location. Yeah. Right. So if you have a nurse department, there you go. But if you have multiple locations, I'm just thinking break it down by the location, and then you can have discussions that are clinic centered instead of company centered. And then to wrap it all up is to do, well, I say to wrap it up, but to take it to the next one is bring all that information to a Q&A.
Yeah.
And now you can really open up the table You've had a full day, hopefully, of discussion, right? And then you can bring that discussion, take 15 minutes and just do a quick Q&A with the CEO.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the CEO here at Nick the Marketer and Patient Care Marketing Pros, like, I'm pretty accessible.
I'm going to say,
but if you're running.
Yeah. Like here, it's, hey, Nick, got a question.
Yeah, exactly.
That's about as far as it takes it, right? Like, or hop into Kumo and whatever. But if you're multi-location, you know, there's a good chance that you have employees that have never actually met you, the CEO or the owner. So this is a great time to have that conversation with them. Also, too, it may trigger thoughts and ideas that no one else had. And that's what you also want out of this. Like, hey, I think we could do better than the goal you just gave us, and here's why. You know, that may come out, or why are we focusing on this so much? I thought we were doing good on that. You know, it brings out some realities, because at the end of the day, you can't think for everybody that works for you, right? So, but you want that nice feedback loop of like, well, tell me what is on your mind if there's something that we brought to the table today that you just do not agree with.
That's right.
And I think you should be open to it, because if you say, thanks for the comment, move on to the next one, and you don't have like any feedback loop to that, then they're never going to ask again. And I think that's super important, because we find it here that if you make a feedback or some type of comment, how can we do this? You know, and then like, okay, cool, we're going to do this. If you think you can help push it across the finish line, let's go. You know, and then it's amazing how many like things that we do now was not generated from you.
That's right.
So, like,
and I'm 100% okay with that.
Yeah, and I think everybody should be.
Yeah, I was going to say my favorite thing is an idea well executed that wasn't mine.
Yeah,
I'm dead serious about that.
And that's 100% the DIY Google Ads kit, because that was as Hannah put it, like a gift. Where we were gone, and she's like, I've been working on something with everybody. Here it is. And we're like, cool. We didn't even know what we were looking at hardly. And then now it's our number one downloaded anything that we have.
That brings up my newest favorite quote. I have a stack of quotes, but it's Dan Martell, which is Buy Back Your Time, which is 80% done by somebody else is 100% freaking awesome.
Yes.
It's like,
true.
Yes.
It's true.
So
it's true.
to me, and I'm not lazy, you know, I'm not, but like at the same time, if you can do this and you're passionate about it, even if it's done differently than the way I would do it, let's go. Right.
If it's showing results, let's go.
Let's put a bow on this podcast. Are you ready? All right. So then you want to take it out. Closing remarks are basically just wrap up what you talked about for the day. We've talked in the past on other episodes about the 3 H's. Here's what we're talking about. Beginning. Here's what we're talking about while you're talking about it. And then the last one is, here's what we talked about. It's just like, it's the power of reinforcement. Here's what we're talking about.
Yep.
As you're doing it, here's what we're talking about now. And then here's what we talked about. So,
and then you pick out the key metrics and the key things that you want to re-highlight. And I would say this is also that chance, if you have a QA section, here's the top question, biggest question that we're going to look more into or whatever. Like, great feedback. Just once again, showcase like it's a safe place to give feedback.
Safety's good. I like that. Maybe even this isn't in my notes, but maybe even a post,
like a recap email,
or just like what impacted you the most, kind of like we do with 7-Figure Agency, where they go back, hey, tell us how we did. How would you rate this?
Nice
session?
Little survey you send out.
Survey Monkey. All right. So
now you're thinking, right?
Yeah, I actually am. So two last points here, and then we'll wrap it up and take it out. Okay. Yeah. The other one is like, we're going to provide breakfast and lunch. All right. So I'll have breakfast on the way in, and I'll have lunch. I think we're going to step away and go to lunch and then come back.
Yeah. And it does a hard break on the itinerary too.
That's right.
Where the Richard Mobley is done.
Yeah.
And now we lunch and then we go internal.
Got to have that reset in your brain as well, because they're getting like tons of information. They're drinking from a fire hose, and you want to have the takeaways. The other thing, a preparation checklist. Okay. Make sure that hopefully when you do this, ensure that everybody that is presenting is prepared. Like, rehearse and have the materials available. Put together the slideshows and then send them to where they need to go. Use visuals. Don't use words. So if you're going to put a slide together, unless it's a number, like, try and put everything into a visual, because people are just going to sit there and read the board and they're not going to pay attention to you. Use your slides as a visual reference to what you're trying to communicate.
Yeah. And like, I'm working on slides right now, and I start with what I want it to say, and then I'm going to go back and add visuals to make it look more presentable. But sometimes there's just a number. Like,
that's right.
Here's a revenue number. Like, I may have a visual go with it for fun, but at the end of the day, it's still a number or a percentage or whatever.
Then you want to provide a printed or a digital summary of the plan. So here's what we talked about in the meeting. Here's a digital or a summary. Here's everything that we discussed in our goals, so that people have it in writing.
Yep.
Sometime. And then it's funny that we talked about this because now it's in writing here. It says set up a feedback mechanism to gather staff input post meeting.
Yeah, because
so
you don't.
Good. I'm glad we thought about it, and it was also here in my notes.
Yeah.
So I just forgot it was there.
Well, like you mentioned, Santa Fe. So Santa Fe is that group that we're part of for digital marketers, and every single conference we go to, the next day that when it's over, we get an email. Or even, actually, he's changed it. He now sends it while we're in there. He won't let us leave.
He doesn't even let you leave the conference.
Yeah, he's like, all right.
Shout out to Josh Nelson for holding us captive.
Yeah, so and the reason why
works though.
He said the reason why we do it because we get better response rates and we need more responses from you, everybody. So, but he literally, I remember, he doesn't even save it to the end. He saves it to like 3/4 through the last day, where you know there's another session coming, but he's like, before you go, or you think you.
He does it before the implementation report.
Yeah. So he purposely puts it before the last session just because he knows you want to be there for the last session. Well, I have a captive audience to take care of this. Mm-hmm. Same thing with you guys. You know, when you're doing this meeting, when you're reaching toward the end here. Now, granted, he has like 300 or 400 people he's doing this for, so there's a different dynamic.
Not 12.
Not 10 or 12. But it's that mindset. Hey, before we get to the last piece, scan this with your phone right now. Pick out your phone, scan the QR code, fill out the survey, and make the survey detailed enough where they can actually give you feedback on each piece of the puzzle that you created that day for them, and just see what they're, because there are things I remember saying, hey, we don't talk enough about this at all, and then 1 or 2 intensives later, it shows up in an itinerary. Mm-hmm. So it does make impacts. I mean, I do it at the end of the day. You want to hear that. Hey, when we did your talk at the UCA, not this year, but the year before, you had some feedback and some of it was negative.
Probably why I'm not talking anymore.
but they
were the 3 people that gave me feedback. They're like,
yeah, right. And that's how it goes.
Not the other 40 that gave me good feedback that didn't say anything.
Well, we all know that from Google reviews. People are quick to give you a negative review and more challenging to give you
a good. It's okay. I'm secure. I'm not really that
there. But anyway, so I think it's important that timing of that too, and not saying forcing, but basically making it really difficult for them not to do it. So.
Right. Well, listen, this is going to be the year 2025 where we're going to help you get more patients, deliver better care, get repeat visits, and scale your clinics. It's the year for it. We're all in on doing this. Yep. We're not just saying it. We're coming into the year with a plan. We're excited about it. So please stay tuned. Every Wednesday, we're going to be dropping an episode for you. Lots of interviews still lined up. We ended the year with interviews. We're going right back into them this year as well.
We were supposed to have one today, but it got pushed back a couple of weeks.
But it's going to be a good one.
It is. We're excited for it. But yeah, we already have, when we were talking to people in December, like, okay, I want to interview with you guys. Like, well, it's going to be minimum February before we can even consider it, just because we keep pushing, because we have so many showing up right now. Which we're not complaining. It's just It's been amazing. And I'm really excited. The next couple of weeks, you're going to hear from one of our own clients that was a startup.
I love it.
Which is super cool to hear from.
And he'll shoot you straight. He gives us no slack.
No, he does not.
We love him.
And he's coming on. It's so funny because we have a challenge of getting our own clients to come on. You urgent care people just don't like talking in front of for an audience, I guess.
That's okay. That's fair.
But this guy, he's a great client, and but he wants to come on because he heard one of our episodes. He's like, I got a different viewpoint of all that.
Yeah,
and I need to tell your people about it. And I was like, okay.
So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a good one. It's coming up. But until then, you guys keep engaging with us. Leave us a review. 5 stars will be awesome. Make a comment on our YouTube channel. Yes. Smash that subscribe button, and we will see you next week. Have a good one.
See ya.
See ya.